How's it going, everyone? Bass here. The Packers moved to 3-4 on the season in this Week 7 loss against the Washington Commanders, 23-21. It is Monday, so you know what that means. Let's go over and break down all the PFF grades from offense and defense from this game. And this game was, again, just super ugly, just like last week against the Jets. I don't know what's going on with this Packers football team, especially the offensive side of the ball. The defense does show flashes. They do look elite at times, but there's also times where they don't look too good, but that's no help of the offense keeping the defense on the field. There's a lot of things wrong with this team, but nonetheless, let's get into the grades. So I'm going to start with the defense because, as I said, I think they were the better unit out of the two yesterday. So let's bring up the grades here. And we see at the top, the highest graded defender on the Packers yesterday was Devondre Campbell with a 94.3 overall grade. I believe this is his best grade of his entire career. And we saw he was a top 3 PFF linebacker last year. Hasn't been too great in terms of PFF grades this year. That's not the case here. Devondre Campbell probably had one of his best games of his career, obviously with the pick six, scoring a third of the Packers' total points. 94.3 overall, 89.9 run defense, 84.0 tackle, 84.3 pass rush, and a 91.8 coverage grade. He had 3 total pressures, and I love seeing that because Joe Barry doesn't really bring much pressure or hasn't in the weeks past and last year as well. So to finally see some linebackers, some defensive backs getting pressure is really, really good here. We see he also had 5 stops, 8 total tackles with 0 missed, and then on coverage allowed 4 receptions on 5 targets for 46 yards. The second highest grade on defense was Rasul Douglas, also a 90 plus with a 90.7 grade. Really liked what I saw from Rasul yesterday. He was really flying around making a ton of plays. If only he held on to a couple of those passes, he would have had 1 to 2 interceptions and maybe even a pick 6. These defensive backs got to catch the interceptions. But then we have Dean Lowry with a 79.7, good game by him. Quay Walker finally getting a good grade after about 3 to 4 weeks of bad grades, a 78.0. The linebackers played really well yesterday. Rudy Ford, a 77.4. He had the 9 total snaps. Of course, he had to come in when Darnell Savage kind of went out with an injury. Rashawn Gary, a 76.5. Devontae Wyatt, a 74.9. Darnell Savage, 74.4. So good to see Darnell getting up here in grades as well. TJ Slayton, a 71.0. Kingsley Enagbare, 68.6. I love what I'm seeing from Kingsley Enagbare so far this year. Adrian Amos, 66.2. Preston Smith, 64.5. Kenny Clark, a 62.2. Keyshawn Nixon, 61.4. Jerron Reed, 57.2. Surprisingly, Jair Alexander, 53.1. And Eric Stokes, a 50.6. And Ladarius Hamilton, who was activated off the practice squad in place of John Garvin being a healthy scratch, had the lowest grade by a long shot at 32.7. Now, if we go into pass rushing, Rashawn Gary had the highest pass rushing grade in 89.4, had 6 total pressures, 4 quarterback hits, 2 hurries, a 27.3 win rate. Quay Walker also with 3 pressures. Love to see this, both from Quay and Devondre, both with 3 pressures. The Packers pressured Taylor Heinicke a ton yesterday, just didn't get home as much as I would have liked them to. Only 1 sack here. Kenny Clark, 5 pressures. Adrian Amos, 1 pressure. Dean Lowry with 3 pressures. Enagbare with 2 pressures. And, of course, that sack. Jerron Reed with 2 pressures. And Preston Smith with 4 pressures. The Packers had 29 total pressures. And that's the wild thing to me. When you look at these stats and what the Packers did on defense, scored a pick 6, pressured Heinicke 29 times. If you just look at the stats, you would go, oh, the Packers won that game. But obviously they didn't. Now diving into coverage for the defensive backs and linebackers, we see Rasul Douglas, who is the highest graded defensive back here, only allowed 3 receptions on 7 targets for 29 yards, also with 3 pass breakups. Really, really good game from Rasul. Jair Alexander allowed 4 receptions on 6 targets for 67 yards and a touchdown. All of those targets were against Terry McLaurin, so he was shadowing Terry. And Terry had a really good game. Terry McLaurin has seemingly always got the best of Jair every time he's played the Packers. Terry McLaurin's an extremely talented wide receiver, and the touchdown there was a great throw by Heinicke and a great catch by Terry. Really, really down game by Jair, just not the usual to what you're expected to see from him. Devondre Campbell, like I said earlier, allowed 4 receptions on 5 targets for 46 yards. Eric Stokes allowed 4 receptions on 5 targets for 27 yards. Quay Walker allowed 3 receptions on 4 targets for 22 yards. Adrian Amos allowed two receptions for 10 yards. Darnell Savage allowed 0 receptions for 0 yards. Now moving over to the offensive side of the ball, and this is very, very ugly. There's not a single player with a 70-plus overall grade. The highest is A.J. Dillon with a 67.8, and he only had 16 total snaps. This speaks a lot of volume. I know PFF isn't the end-all, be-all, but this does show and replicate what we saw from that offense. Just a disgusting performance. Aaron Jones, a 67.5. Allen Lazard, 67.1. Aaron Rodgers, 66.5. Zach Tom was the highest graded lineman, stepping right in for left tackle. So really nice game from him. We'll get into that, the exact pressures allowed and all that in a bit here. 66.1. John Runyon, 64.3, his first game at right guard. Josh Myers, a 63.9. Josh Nijman, a 61.7 for his first game at right tackle. Sammy Watkins, 60.4. DeGuara, 55.4. Samori Toure, a 52.7. Tyler Davis, a 50.6. Amari Rodgers, a 50.3. Elton Jenkins, a 50.0. Romeo Doubs, a really bad 43.6. Robert Tonyan, an even worse 35.4. And the lowest graded player, Mercedes Lewis, a 30.9. Now moving into more offensive line stats. First, we'll look at pass blocking. Josh Myers was the highest pass blocking grade with an 83.6. He allowed 0 pressures. John Runyon, an 83.3, also 0 pressures. Zach Tom, an 82.2, 0 pressures. Go down to Josh Nijman here, a 69.3. He allowed 1 pressure. And then we go down to Elton Jenkins here, a 41.3 pass block grade. So outside of Elton Jenkins, I thought this offensive line did really well pass blocking, only allowed 1 pressure and 1 hurry and 0 sacks. For a completely new unit with John Runyon swapping over, Josh Nijman coming in at right tackle, Elton Jenkins moving back to left guard, which he didn't play well. And then Zach Tom only learning that he's going to be starting at left tackle the morning of the game, coming in here and allowing 0 pressures and putting up a nice pass blocking grade. Really, really good to see that there. I thought Zach Tom deserved a spot on this offensive line regardless. I didn't expect his first start to be at left tackle, but here we are, and he had a really good game. So going forward, I think Zach Tom deserves to be on this offensive line, and I'm really hoping Elton Jenkins can put it together. He does not look like his former self at all. He's really struggling. I thought maybe his switch back to left guard would really help him. That was not the case. He was a worse lineman yesterday. As for run blocking, I thought this offensive line really struggled. The highest grade for run blocking was Josh Nijman, a 62.8. Josh Myers was the second highest with a 54.9. Elton Jenkins had a 53.4. John Runyon, a 52.1. Zach Tom, a 47.8. So although Zach Tom was really good in the pass blocking game, the run blocking to the left side wasn't there at all because Elton Jenkins didn't have a good grade. Zach Tom didn't have a good grade. And overall, the Packers didn't run well at all. I think they had 30 yards or around there or so, but they continue to just not run the ball, and I get it if it doesn't work some plays, but they really barely ran the ball in the third and fourth quarter, even the second quarter at all. So I wanted to go over this real quick. It's the Aaron Rodgers passing pressure stats here because it's very interesting. The Commanders only blitzed Aaron Rodgers 1 time, and he was 1 for 1 for 15 yards. The Commanders basically just sent 4 guys and sat back in a cover 2 shell defense and said, run it on us. And yet the Packers still weren't able to, which is really concerning. When not blitzed, Aaron Rodgers was 22 of 34 for 179 yards. And if we also look down here, the Packers only ran play action 5 times, which I cannot stand. You don't need an extremely good performance from your running backs in the game for play action to work. Play action is proven to work regardless, and I hate that the Packers are going away from it. I said it during my stream. I think it was week 1 or 2, I think 2 against the Bears there. The Packers ran a bootleg where Romeo Doubs came across the formation on that boot and was wide open 2 times. The second one was a holding on Allen Lazard or a block in the back, but I digress. It was a great play. And I remember after that game in my post-game reaction saying, hey, the Packers need to go back to that. That looked great. They need to run that multiple times a game. I haven't seen it since. So I don't know what's going on with this offense, this game plan, this scheme, the play calling, whatever it may be. But the fact that they're only running 5 play action plays, not okay. They need to run more than that. They were 4 for 5 on play action for 28 yards. No play action. He was 19 for 30 for 166 yards. They ran a screen 9 total times, 7 completions out of 9 attempts for only 34 yards, and of course the touchdown there to Aaron Jones. And then finally, just want to get into the passing depth as well, because this has been an argument for me pretty much all year long that medium to deep range is non-existent for the Packers. Medium, which is 10 to 19 yards. Aaron Rodgers attempted 2 passes all game. Didn't complete a single one. A 46.5 rating. This is a problem. You should be able to throw the ball medium to deep, and if not, you're a very one-dimensional team, and that's exactly what the Packers are. Deep, he was 2 for 4 for 49 yards and a touchdown. Short, 13 for 17 for 116 yards, and behind the line of scrimmage, 8 for 10 for 29 yards. This Packers offense is basically forcing it short and behind the line of scrimmage when there's nothing going medium and deep, and it's really making them one-dimensional, as I said. And just a quick update on the total overall team special teams grade throughout the 7 weeks. Green Bay is no longer the worst. The San Francisco 49ers, ironically, have a 43.4. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a 49.2. And the Packers are third worst for special teams with a 52.4. But that about does it for the PFF grades. They got the Buffalo Bills next week in Buffalo, Sunday Night Football. A lot of people are saying the Packers are going to get beat by 30-plus points. I think it will surprisingly be a much closer game than a lot of you are thinking. I was saying this on my stream. If the Packers end up losing to the Commanders, which they did, imagine they go out and just beat the Bills, just make everyone very, very confused, and they completely turn it around against the Bills. This is extremely wishful thinking, and I have no real basis on why I think this could happen, other than the fact that it's just something wild. But that about does it for this video. If you are new here and you like this sort of thing, you like me going over the PFF grades, I do this every single week after every game, win or loss. So go down, click subscribe, leave a like on the video, and turn on post notifications. But that about does it for this one. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.